Okay, hi guys, and welcome to today's show. Now you could probably tell that I'm very happy because I have finally bought a watch that I've been deliberating about for absolutely months. I have kind of kept it close to my chest. I'm actually wearing it right now. Oops, I think I showed you too much already, but I'm going to keep it a surprise as I'm doing the unboxing at the end of this episode. So no wristwatch check. Well, I'll do it later on after I've done the unboxing. But before we get into that, we're now going to take a look at Eterna. Now, Eterna are a hugely important brand, and I was lent in a beautiful watch. I think I've mispronounced it the entire way through the review, which is so typical. I'm terrible with pronunciations, which is fairly bad considering I did live in France, but I was a teenager at the time and I spent most of my time wine tasting, so it's all a bit of a haze. All I remember is a few chateaus and a lot of debauchery, but I think I'll save that for another time. I think it's pronounced Soleure, God knows. Anyway, I do apologize. French speakers, I do apologize. So there we go. Anyway, now I think Soleure is actually a city next to Gretchen, where in Switzerland, where Eterna was founded. So I think hence the name of the watch. And a massive thank you to John for lending that in. Really was fantastic, and I actually scored a vintage 1940s Eterna bump automatic. I've also kept a bit of a secret because I've been planning this video for quite a while. Eterna is a brand I've always greatly admired, and today I'm going to share the history and you will see just what makes them so special. So let's switch perspectives and get into this review. You would have seen the unboxing of this particular watch a few weeks ago. This is the Soleure watch that has been very graciously lent in by my good friend John. And this over here is a vintage buy. It is also Eterna. Now this is from the 1940s and this particular one is from right now. So with these two watches together, I thought it would be a really great way just to show you how this company has evolved and share this amazing story, this legacy that is very unique and I don't see being discussed by a lot of watch channels because Eterna have a phenomenal history. Now they were founded in 1856 by Joseph Girard and Urs Schild, and that was in Gretchen in Switzerland. Eterna is a Swiss luxury watch company. Now they're actually owned by a Hong Kong conglomerate. I think it's called City Champ watch and jewelry group. So let's quickly look back at their history and just discuss some of the highlights of Eterna's incredible legacy. And by the turn of the century, by the early 20th century, they were starting to become quite fashionable, and the company then changed its name to Eterna, the Eterna that we know today. Now by 1932, Eterna had set up a subsidiary company called ETA or ETA SA, and that was to make movements for itself and other Swiss watch companies. And we all know ETA today, and they're still going strong. And most famously, in 1948, Eterna advanced the self-winding watch technology with the development of the Eterna-matic automatic movement. Now this was 5 strategically placed ball bearings, and you can see this in a lot of, well, practically all of the ETA movements to this day. And it's just basically 5 ball bearings that make the movement very efficient and significantly reduce friction and resistance on the oscillating weight that wound the main spring. So basically where the rotor connects, and this reduced wear and tear on the internal parts, also increased the watch's accuracy and its the life of the watch itself, or the movement I should say. Now the Eterna-matic became extremely popular, probably the most famous Eterna watch of all, Eterna's greatest design without a doubt. Its popularity was to such an extent that in 1948 Eterna adopted the image of the 5 ball bearings, and I'll just show you the Soleure here. You can see the logo right there, and that is the 5 ball bearings. Now it's quite funny because it also remarkably similar to the to the crest or the coat of arms of the Medici family, but that's just coincidence. And it's funny, I always thought that's the look what they were going for, but it's a beautiful idea, and what seems quite insignificant today, but actually was quite a dramatic change for automatic movements. Now, what I have here is also an Eterna, but this is a bumper automatic movement, and this is from the early 40s. Now, this is a vintage buy. What is fascinating is the difference between, we're talking about 60 years of difference between these two watches. So this is pre-Eterna-matic. The bumper movement, let me just explain. If I bring a shot up of the movement of this watch, the rotor doesn't rotate 360. It bounces back and forth, and you can actually, when you shake it, you can actually hear it. It bounces back and forth on two springs, and it winds the watch like that. So back to the history of Eterna. So in 1982, Eterna was sold several times, and then finally in 2012 bought by the City Champ group from Hong Kong. Now, some of the most important milestones in Eterna's history are, we've obviously mentioned the 1948 birth of the friction reducing ball bearings. In 1930, they had designed the smallest production wristwatch with what's called a baguette movement, which is a kind of rectangular shaped movement. In 1914, they had the first serially produced wrist alarm clock. They'd also won the Grand Prix honours at Brussels World Exhibition in 1910. And just before the introduction of the friction reducing ball bearings in 1947, they made the Kon-Tiki, which is a tribute to the Norwegian explorer Thor Heyerdahl, in 1947, which is probably one of Eterna's crowning achievements, and to this day they still produce Kon-Tiki dive watches, which are just phenomenal and kind of iconic in their own right. In the 50s they produced some very iconic ladies watches for Bridgette Bardot, for example, the Golden Heart, and then in 1962 they produced the thinnest men's watch, which was thinnest at the time. I think that record has since been broken, but in 1962 it was the thinnest for a while, and that was the Eterna-matic 3000 Dato, and the movement itself was only a height of 3.6 millimeters. In the 80s, they actually, following the quartz crisis in the 70s, they produced one of the thinnest quartz movements ever made, which had a thickness of just under a millimeter, which is just amazing. And then in 2006, for the company's 150th anniversary, they released the automatic caliber 3030. So as you can see, Eterna are incredibly important and a really amazing brand with some outstanding wristwatches. So let's have a look at this vintage piece that I picked up on eBay. Now the movement inside is the caliber 1159, which is basically just a refined version of the 1158. 3 hands, as you can see. The Eterna caliber 1159 was one of a family of bumper automatic watch movements produced from 1945 to 1948. There's no coincidence that that's the date that they stopped making the bumper movements, because of course that's when they introduced the new 5-ball bearing system to the rotor. And as the light shines on it, it has these painted gold numerals, the beautiful Dauphine hands that are fading beautifully. The case itself is a nickel and chromium plated, and then the case back is stainless steel, and this was typical of watches of this period. Now the only part that's been replaced is the crown. Originally it came with what I call a beanie hat crown, which is basically a little bit thinner with this, but with a rounded kind of dome that sits on top. It has a really beautiful wind to it. It's keeping impeccable time considering its age. It runs a little bit fast. It's not the most accurate thing in the world, but you got to remember this is from the early 40s. If we look at the hands, they've started to oxidize, and they have just an incredible texture. Even the Eterna-matic, it started to fade there beautifully. Stunning seconds track and minutes track running around the outside. It's very, very 1940s. It's still aesthetically, its design is still very much kind of
Art Deco inspired with the Roman numerals and all the rest of it. Patina has really given it quite a remarkable character of its own. It's just dazzling, it really is, and the way it plays with the light is just out of this world. It's a wonderful, wonderful piece. We have these leaf shaped lugs which are just gorgeous, and then of course this quite tall domed plexiglass or plastic crystal, and then of course on the back we have a screwed down case back just with the basic information, numbers, and I'll include some shots of the inside so you can see it. But this movement, it's just performing impeccably. I mean, for something that's twice my age, is amazing. So the movement itself, it operates at quite a slow pace at 18,000 vibrations an hour, so it's not the most steady sweep. But, you know, like we were discussing with the Visodate and the Seiko Jewel the other day, you know, when you have a movement that operates at a lower vibrations per hour, it's less friction, it's less motion, which lends for a more reliable and longer lasting movement. It's a 21 joule movement, has quite a staggering 42-hour power reserve, which is just phenomenal, and a very simple case, very typical of its day, and its size as well. So I've put it on this red, this is a Milano watch band. This is from I forget their name, but I have a ostrich strap from them, and I just thought the red color, rich burgundy color, just plays with that gold, you know, the gilded dial and those beautiful gold Dauphine hands. It's just so elegant, quite striking look, and it certainly looks of its era. Anyway, let's get a quick idea of its size. So its diameter is 34 millimeters, has a thickness of 10 millimeters. Lug to lug, we're looking at 40 millimeters, and then lug width, it's an 18. So a very, very early part of the century size. This was typical of its day, and in my research I found some gorgeous adverts for this particular watch, which was nice to kind of verify it and help date it from the more precise period when this watch is from. So I'll share that on the screen. As you can see, I just love those old watch adverts. They've got such character. I do apologize about the New York noise in the background. So let's fast forward about 60 years and have a look what Eterna are producing today. Now the first thing you'll notice is just how big this watch is. Now this is a dress watch. This particular watch, I can't really figure it out because it is a dress watch, but then it has quite a field watch aesthetic with the precise little scales running around the outside, but then it's made quite dressy with the Roman numerals and that beautiful gold detailing. So it's an oddity, and guys, if anybody knows more about this beautiful little Eterna, please let me know. I'd love to know more. So this is the Eterna Soleure automatic, and this came out I think in the last couple of years. It's quite recent. It's obviously a dress watch, very tastefully done. Let's get the dimensions out of the way because it's quite staggering at just how big this watch is. We have a diameter of 42 millimeters, a thickness of 9.5 millimeters, or 9.3 millimeters, lug to lug at about 48 millimeters, lug width we're looking at 22 millimeters. So a very contemporary size, and in my opinion a little bit too big for a dress watch, but if you have the larger wrist, then it's absolutely perfect for you. While being quite slender, and it's beautifully slender, it has a really flat design. The lugs are almost flat. I mean, there's no curvature to them, but it is a beautifully done piece. The quality you can feel right away. So the finishing, the build is exceptional, and I think when I did the unboxing, that's what struck me first of all. The case is entirely stainless steel. There is no brushed surfaces. It's entirely high polish. The finishing is done impeccably well. It has a slight sunburst effect on the dial. I love how they've applied the 5 ball bearings for the logo. It's a really nice attention to detail. Beautiful dial, and the dial really is huge. We've got lovely applied batons which taper slightly as they go inwards, very nicely faceted, and then these gorgeous lance alpha hands that are also faceted. I love the length of them. They look razor sharp, and then of course that Eterna logo at the 12 o'clock. The date, beautifully symmetrically placed. I actually think the layout of this dial is exquisite. It really is beautifully done, and the rehort of the on the edge of the dial there just angles slightly. Got a very flat sapphire, very nicely done, just sits there beautifully. The crown is actually engraved with the 5 ball bearing logo there, which is a really nice touch. And actually when I was winding it, it's practical too, because you can get some good grip on the actual crown. If we pull it out, as you can see, it's hackable, and we have hand winding as well. Now the movement, this rather unbelievably is the SW200 from Soleure, which I got to be honest, I was really surprised. Now don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with the Soleure SW200. It's a fantastic movement. If anything, it's better than the ETA it's a clone of. And I've had this particular movement in various Orises, I think I've had it in a Christopher Ward, but in an Eterna it's just a little bit bizarre considering their legacy with founding ETA. So having a Soleure in there is, as we say in the United Kingdom, taking the mickey a little bit. It's just a bit ironic that it hasn't even got an ETA. But as we all know, the patent on ETA's movements ran out. That enabled companies like Soleure to make clones. So it's a clone of the ETA or ETA 2824. It has a 38-hour power reserve. We have manual wind as well. So it's a 26 dual movement. It operates at 28,800 vibrations an hour, so it's got a very smooth sweep. The power reserve is only 38 hours, which strange enough is 4 hours less than its ancestor here. And actually getting them side by side, you really see the difference. Now obviously being a newer movement, it's vastly more accurate than the little 40s vintage piece. This watch is also very striking, very minimal and incredibly elegant, and they both are, but they are both victims of their day. Not victims, but they both are so indicative of their days, especially aesthetically, and the sizes as well. It's just quite amazing that, you know, men have gone from wearing something like this, which would be considered a women's watch, to something like this. And my opinion is this is far too large. Let's have a quick look at the back. This is water resistant to 50 meters. Very unpretentious, little screwed down case back, but it is very thin, and I do appreciate that. It comes on this incredibly nice genuine crocodile leather band with a double push button. The only part of the watch that has a kind of little nod to the 1930s with this little step up, just a little kind of flair of the Art Deco. Anyway, it does wear very well, but as you can see on a tiny little wrist like mine, it just looks too overpowering and too wide. It's all dial, so it looks even bigger than it is, and it's a shame because it's a beautiful wristwatch. Like I said earlier, if you got the wrist for it, then it'll probably look great. But I do think it is a bit of a victim of the oversized trend. When watches are made too big, it looks cumbersome, it looks unrefined, it doesn't look classic, and you mistake it for a fashion watch, which something like this, an Eterna with an incredible past, yeah, okay, it's not owned by the same people, but it still has the Eterna name, and that logo does mean something. It is an important part of horological history. It's a shame it takes a bit of elegance away from it. In complete contrast, this little vintage piece wears beautifully, and to me that looks more elegant. Forget what it is, forget the styling, just size wise that is definitely more elegant and looks more refined. It doesn't look so clumsy, but I have to say the thinness of the newer Eterna does lend for a good dress watch, because the cuff still can slide over it because it's not that tall. So there is no loom, so we don't have to do a loom shot. But it is interesting to see these two watches together. It's great grandson, so to speak. It's descendant, the ancestor, and its descendant here. It's quite astonishing. But you can definitely see that they're related, without a doubt. And I'm really quite chuffed I managed to pick this up, because it's in such good condition. The case, that dial, that gorgeous patinaed, it's kind of toasted. I think it probably looked better now than it did when it was brand new. Having said that, the modern Eterna is also got quite a lot of character, but just can't compete with its ancestor here. Anyway, I haven't decided if I'm going to keep this. I bought this really because of its it was just a bargain, and also being so affordable, I couldn't turn the deal down. And I've always liked Eterna. I've always respected them because of that legacy and that contribution to watchmaking. So I think to own something like this in the collection is something very special. I might sell it, I don't know. Who knows? If I get a really good offer. I definitely don't need it, and I probably won't wear it that much considering its age, but it is nice that it's still working beautifully, and for the most part, thank you guys, for the most part almost completely original. And you can see right at the bottom, just Swiss. Just look at that dial, it's quite extraordinary. Anyway, I hope you'll agree it is absolutely pure class. Okay guys, I'm going to leave it there. Let's take it back to the studio.
Let me know what you thought of the Eternas. Now, of course, I will be returning the Soleure to my good friend John. Thank you again, my friend. And if you're interested in purchasing the little 1940s bumper automatic, please shoot me an email. But of course, if you're watching this far in the future, it's probably sold by now, so check the publication date of this video. But if you are interested, please email me. My email is, as always, in the description. Anyway, without further ado, let's change now to a quick unboxing. Now, you guys know I was deliberating selling the my first Omega in space, the Speedmaster. I did actually sell it in the end. Don't get me wrong, everything I've ever said about that piece I still agree with. It is a phenomenal watch, but I just wasn't wearing it. I didn't get as much fun out of it as I have with some other Omegas from the past. So you'll see why I bought this one. Now, I also sold my Tudor Black Bay. I've come into a bit of financial difficulty at the moment, so I needed to free up some cash. So by selling both watches and buying back one Omega, I was able to put a few grand towards my medical bills. I kind of consolidated by selling two pieces. I bought one piece used. I think this watch that I've bought, I'm going to wear a hell of a lot more, and I'm going to enjoy more than both of them. So for me, it was a logical step, and I deliberated for months, to be not months, but I deliberated for over a month. I can't keep everything. I'm not made of money, but I'm sure eventually I'll probably buy another Black Bay further down. Actually, I wouldn't mind the 36mm, but anyway, we'll save that for next year when things get a bit better. So without further ado, let's change perspectives again and have a quick look at this unboxing.
Okay guys, and here we are, and as you can see from the packaging, it is indeed from Japan, which is a country that I've actually bought quite a lot of watches from. Now, I'm not going to jinx this by saying how fantastic they are, because this could be absolutely terrible. But yeah, let's get into the unboxing. And of course, I am using my little Kershaw, the Ken Onion designed Kershaw Leek, which is one of my favorite knives of all time. So let's open this baby up. I've never seen this particular box before. You probably figured out. Oh, there you go. The secret is out. Yeah, I went for a limited edition. Oh wow, Michael Schumacher on the box. Now guys, I don't know if you're aware of this, but when I was a kid I went to a lot of Grand Prix with my father. He was a big Ferrari fan. Pretty much every single race we saw, Michael Schumacher always won. And he was a childhood hero of mine. Some people loathe him, some people love him, but you got to respect him because he is one of the most incredibly talented drivers of all time. So I think this is only fitting that I got this watch. But actually I got this watch just really on aesthetics. But it's a nice that it's also a special addition to somebody I greatly admired when I was a kid. A very different box to, you know, the typical red box. And there's all the, so it's from Japan and bought from a jeweler in Japan. I have no idea what that says. Okay, I'm quite nervous. Right, drum roll. Let's open her up. Oh, yes. Yes, there it is. There it is. Oh, that little pop of orange and red. And it's got a checkered, can you see that? The dial is checkered. Ah, it's gorgeous. Got the what's it called, Hesselite. So there are little nicks and scratches, but let me look at the case. Doesn't look like it's been polished because there's still some wear on it. That's fine, that's absolutely fine. I prefer a bit of wear than over polishing. And it's going already. Well, it's very smooth winding. Oh yeah. Oh yes. And it is of course an automatic, so it's a little bit smaller. Let's put it on. Oh wow, it fits me out of the box. I think the Japanese have similar sized wrists to me. Fantastic. Let's start the chronograph. Oh, and it goes. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, I'm chuffed to bits. I've got a reduced back, but not only a reduced. I went for this one because it's a pop of colour, something a little bit different. I love that dial. I love that red. I love that orange. It's a bit more playful. Don't see these that often. I mean, there's a lot of Schumacher special editions with the red dial or the yellow dial. The 30-minute counter there is going. Let's see. Yeah, it's going. So as the chronograph for seconds goes, that sub dial on the left is also going. It's actually moving. It's a gradual move. Do you see that? Do you see that here? So yeah, it's working. Chronograph's working. Then we've got hours at the bottom. A few little nicks and scrapes, but that's absolutely fine. I prefer that than over polishing. I honestly do. Oh, look at the subdials, the way the light plays with. Lovely, lovely. So let's reset. Yep. Yep, resets perfectly. Very, very happy. And then that's the clasp. The old school clasp hasn't got the pushers. I do love that bracelet. Oh, I've missed the reduced. I really have missed the. Look at. I mean, look. It fits me so much better. I'm chuffed to bits with that. Very, very happy with that. So yeah, got a Speedy back in the collection. Chuffed to bits. Yeah, fantastic. Well, I'm going to test it for 24 hours. See how it performs. And yeah, I got an Omega Speedy back in the collection. And there's a little bit of. A little dent there, but that's fine. That's absolutely fine. Oh, look at the back. Look at the back. World Champion 2000. Actually, was I there that year? Probably. Probably. Fantastic. Limited edition, 4,741 out of 6,000. Fantastic. chuffed to bits, absolutely chuffed to bits. Another successful buy from Japan. Yeah, they know their stuff. Anyway, let's take it back to the studio.
And as you can see, I'm chuffed to bits. I'm really, really, really happy. That little dash of red, it's, you know, I wanted something with a dash of red because I think that's what the Black Bay really added. It kind of looks a little bit more retro, kind of vintagey. Is that even a word? It's not a word, it's not a word, but I'm over the moon, guys, and I think I've already got a hell of a lot of enjoyment out of the 24 hours that I've had it. So I'm happy. I'm happy with this one piece. I think it was a good move. Now I know a lot of you are probably going to, oh, you know, terrible idea, terrible idea. Look, guys, at the end of the day, you know, I buy watches for pleasure and to make me happy, and this makes me happy. And if I'm able to put some of the funds towards my things I really need to put money towards, then I think that's the smartest thing to do at the moment, and they're just watches. But anyway, guys, now that the Speedy has arrived, I will be doing a update of my state of the collection very, very soon, so stay tuned for that. So I'm going to leave it there. Please don't forget to add your thoughts, queries, questions, opinions, all the rest of it down below in the comments. I really do appreciate your feedback. Thank you very, very much for watching. Please don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it and found it useful. And as always, guys, I'll catch you in the next one. Okay, ciao.